Do not buy 12 Tribes on Earth hair growth oil and hair magic elixir unless you want super healthy, gorgeous hair that grows. They have a whole line of amazing hair growth products, including hair growth leave-in conditioner spray, hair growth shampoo, hair growth spray, and hair growth butter. I'm starting to sense a theme here. They include quality natural ingredients. They smell amazing, and you can see the results for yourself. So if you're looking for healthy hair growth for your natural or relaxed hair, try 12 Tribes on Earth today.
Shalom, family. Good to see you all here. Hope you're doing well. I tell you what, I woke up this morning and I went out there to see what was going on, and here we go. We see an apology for the Pope. Now, I don't know if many of you know this. The Pope is touring Africa right now. He's on an African tour, which I think started about a week ago. And I think he's going to be there touring different parts of Africa. Well, today he did his mass in Angola. And during the time he was doing his mass, he apologized for the Catholic Church role in helping the colonizers and helping with the entire concept of slavery. So, you know, at the end of the day, y'all, the Catholic Church is another organization that owes reparations. Not to mention the fact that they got all of our arts and different things that prove we are the Israelites up at their Vatican in their vault. And we want our stuff back. You know, I don't want an apology with no action behind it. And see, that's the only apology these folks like to give. Yeah, they'll apologize all day long as long as there's no required action behind the apology. So, an apology, what the hell are we going to do with that? What are we going to do? Everything that has happened to us for centuries at the hands of these demons, what the hell are we supposed to do with some lame ass apology? You know, it's of no use to anyone. And I want y'all to notice where he's given this "we want to apologize" speech, in the land of Ham. Now, why would you go before Ham to apologize for slavery? Why? Y'all didn't take Ham into captivity. You took us. You took the Israelites. So why didn't you make sure your audience were the appropriate people that you should have been apologizing to? Ham, yeah, Ham is going to accept any apology. Okay, that's why you're in front of Ham. There's a reason why he chose that audience. And look, y'all, at the end of the day, the Catholic Church did more harm well beyond just slavery. We know that. The Catholic Church themselves had slaves. They had slaves. They had slaves at all of these different Catholic churches that existed in the land during slavery. Every last one of them had slaves. All right. Remember, they've been around for a long time, even in this land. And they had slaves. They had slaves. So I don't know. How do you just stand there and ask for forgiveness? And I'm offended that you ask for that forgiveness in front of Ham, of all people. And of course, the Hamites are going to forgive you. They'll forgive anything. They are enamored with this Pope. So, oh yeah, they're probably telling him, no, forget about the whole thing. We're fine. Yeah, yeah, we forgive you. I don't. I don't. Okay, because these churches didn't just participate in slavery, y'all. They participated, and remember, and in fact, I did a live stream about the priests and the nuns. The priests and the nuns, when I went back and looked at history, both sold slaves. Both the priests and nuns sold slaves. So the Catholic Church's whole existence here in the United States, I don't want you to ever forget this. Their entire existence came from slavery, slave money. The slave money built their hospitals, their schools, their churches, all of it. Every square inch of the Catholic Church was brought up and rose all over the earth from slavery. That's where the bulk of their money came from. If you remember, even over in England, their church, the Church of England, apologized for slavery. These people were wicked. They were. Y'all, they beat slaves, maimed slaves, and some of them even unalive slaves. These priests and these nuns. Yes, they did. Yes, they did. The same thing your average Christian did, that's what they did with slaves in the Catholic Church, y'all. That's what they did. So, no, you don't get to come hundreds of years later and all you want to do is verbalize an apology. That's all you want to do. And we're supposed to see this as enough. Oh, yeah, they funded and they helped the colonizer the entire time, y'all. The whole time the transatlantic slavery was going on, the Catholic Church was right there helping them through the entire thing. They were 100% with the colonizer. That's what they were doing. Okay. So now you don't get to come years later and try to act like your apology now absolves you for anything. It doesn't. It doesn't. And you're not even trying to make good. We're going to apologize. And whatever we took from you, we're going to give it back. We're going to compensate you for all the free labor. We're going to, all the artifacts and everything we stole, we're going to give it back to you. Nothing, just a verbalized apology. That's it. That will never suffice. It will never suffice. This is why the Most High must come in and punish these people. Because if he don't do it, they're sure going to allow each other to skip out on the judgment. If they think there's a chance to skip out on all of the judgment that's coming upon them, that's exactly what their asses are doing. But see, it's going to take the Most High to hold their feet to the fire and make sure dead in their face they will be aware of the fact that they are 100% accountable for everything they have done all the way up to present day. See, that's the problem with these folks. They will even, many of them are talking about, I wish I had a slave. I would hear them online saying, I wish I had a slave. Well, you're going to get your wish, but the only thing is, you're going to be that slave. It won't be us. There is no prophecy in the Bible that says we got to go through a second slavery here in America. No, that's just wishful thinking coming from y'all. And what makes you think you are worthy enough for me to be a slave for? You ain't even worthy enough for it. So, no. So that tells me the population that did these things, the fact that they can sit online talking about they wish they had slaves again, that tells you there is no remorse among them. There is no remorse whatsoever. And y'all, like I said, everything they did publicly, they did in the Catholic Church, including raping the slaves. So, no, no, you do not get to stand somewhere with an apology and it's accepted. Now, for me and my forefathers, I will never accept your apology. No, honey, you gonna hold that L. Not only are you gonna hold that L, you gonna go through the judgment. Can you imagine, y'all? The people that started slavery will be slaves. All of these nuns and priests and their parishioners and all, they're all going into captivity. So, no, I have no, I'm not in the forgiving mood when it comes down to certain things, and slavery is definitely top on that list. It is top on the list. And, there are people that think what the Pope did, because I saw a couple of priests came online praising the Pope for doing this apology. And I said, well, yeah, your people didn't go through nothing. So it's easy for you to come online and praise everything. Y'all didn't go through nothing. You didn't go through anything. So, I mean, this place is a trip. All right, y'all. Let me share my screen so we can view these videos. I conclude there is something going on because I'm noticing it with a lot of people's videos. I was even watching Queen Amadaya yesterday, and she started some videos with no volume. And I'm convinced they're doing something online because I did not have this issue with any of my uploaded videos before. But now when I play my videos, there's always some with no volume. And now I'm seeing other people channels and it's the same thing. So it's got to be something that they're doing that's causing it. All right, y'all. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Please give me a 1 if you can see my screen. Well, no, that is the kind of people they are. They will acknowledge something. One thing I notice about them, they will acknowledge something. But when it comes down to the accountability part, they don't want no part of that. They don't want no part of any accountability, but acknowledging it is as far as they go. But no accountability, no trying to take a bad situation and make it right. They definitely don't believe in making things right. They don't. And see, if you would have stayed on that 40 acres and a mule and made sure everybody was compensated, you would never be hearing about slavery right now. So the fact that you still got to listen to it, y'all really caused that situation. Y'all caused that situation by not making good on something that you clearly know was wrong. You know that mess was wrong. All right, y'all. Thank you for the ones.
I can't no more. First the UN and now the Vatican? Hey, I need to know what y'all got to say about this here. I see why y'all don't like this new pope. Y'all didn't like Frankie. We loved Frankie. I see why you don't like Leo. But it's okay. I'm sorry. Pope Leo, I'm going to even give you your props, sir. I sure will. It's been a long time coming, but a change gonna come.
At the same time, we must not forget a subtle form of religious discrimination against Christians, which is spreading even in countries where they are in the majority, such as in Europe or the Americas. In its international relations and actions, the Holy See consistently takes a stand in defense of the inalienable dignity of every person. Not all migrants move by choice, but many are forced to flee because of violence, persecution, conflict, and even the effects of climate change, as in various parts of Africa and Asia. The same considerations apply to prisoners who can never be reduced to the crimes they have committed.
Pope Leo has issued a landmark text on AI. It's called Magnificent Humanity, and Pope Leo has taken the unprecedented step of personally presenting this text to the world. That's never happened before when it comes to launching a papal encyclical, a weighty theological document, and he's doing that alongside Chris Olah, a co-founder of Anthropic AI, one of the developers of this new technology, and also a company that has been in dispute with the Trump administration. Now, Pope Leo's text is saying that AI can be used for good, but must not end up in the control of a powerful few. He's also very concerned about the use of AI in warfare, calling for greater regulation of the technology. Of course, the Trump administration has been shy of doing that. But Pope Leo, with this document, making a major intervention and contribution to the development of AI, which he wants to see done ethically and to benefit as many people as possible.
What if I told you that the Vatican helped Europe colonize the world, that it justified European colonialism in the name of spreading Christianity? That there are papal decrees that allowed European empires to take over entire countries. And for what? To allow colonizers to subjugate people, to take away their lands, wage war on their cultures, impose a self-conceived notion of racial superiority over them. And all of this just because the colonizers claimed that they were the ones who discovered new lands. So they had a right to rule over those new lands. Now, the Vatican has come forward and apologized for what it did. It has apologized for helping the colonizers. Here's a report.
Have you heard something called the doctrine of discovery? It's Europe's version of finders, keepers. It's what European colonizers used to subjugate the world. The doctrine was cited by Europeans who discovered new lands, and the doctrine traces its roots back to the Vatican and to the Catholic Church. Now the Church has apologized for helping colonizers in their conquests On Thursday, the Vatican issued an unprecedented statement. It officially apologized for its historical role in justifying colonialism by European powers. The Vatican said, "The Roman Catholic Church repudiates those concepts that fail to recognize the inherent human rights of indigenous peoples, including what has become known as the legal and political doctrine of discovery." It also declared that the doctrine is not part of the Christian's faith, but the Vatican is centuries late. The doctrine of discovery is a concept laid out in the so-called papal bulls. What are these? These are usually official statements from the head of the Catholic Church. That would be the Pope. So no less than the popes were involved in justifying European colonialism. Their decrees were used extensively in the conquest of Australia, Canada, New Zealand, Africa, and the United States. The colonizers claimed that they had the approval of the church to have sovereignty, property, and commercial rights in lands they discovered. Here's an example. Papal decrees in the 15th century permitted Portugal to subjugate Muslims and the non-Christians in Africa. That's not even the ugliest part of these decrees. The Vatican was quite explicit when it came to who Europe could colonize. It could only be non-Christians. So colonialism was essentially used as a tool by the Vatican to spread Christianity across the world. And the colonized countries paid a huge price. Take Canada, for instance. Between the 19th and the 20th centuries, more than 150,000 indigenous children were taken hostage in Canada. They were snatched away from their families and lodged against their will in the re-education institutions. Here, they were subjected to unspeakable atrocities. They were physically assaulted and sexually abused. Many of them didn't survive. They were buried in mass graves that are still being discovered in Canada. Last year, Pope Francis visited Canada. He apologized to the indigenous people for what the Vatican put them through. In 2015, too, the Pope apologized for the Catholic Church's action in Bolivia. He sought forgiveness not only for the offenses of the Church, but also for the crimes committed against the native people during the so-called conquest of America. Just so you know, European colonism was a vast and often very violent project. The whole world at some point or the other has been under the control of a European power. Look at the French Empire. It ruled over territory greater than the size of the Europe itself. Then there was the British Empire, the most notorious of them all. And its peak was about 25% of the world population was a subject of the British Empire. Apologies are welcome and long overdue. But preparations will be the closest they'll come to making amends.
Pope Leo makes historical apology for Holy See's own role in legitimizing slavery. Nigga, it's been 500 years. That's like an ex sending a drunk text after 10 years apologizing for being abusive, narcissistic, and having morning breath at 3 p.m. sharp. It's a little too late for a sorry, sir. We've done our healing through virtual therapy, seeking emotional intelligence, looking for the God within us. Cause that outside God, it might be on demon time. Sorries without action is just sweet talk, bitch. The darker the berry, the sweeter the juice. We need salaries. Reparations? No, bitch, I don't want a mule. How about that big body buggy? Some horsepower. Yes, I happen to be a man with a horse. Let my people go, nigga. It's a fucking eighth. You got dispensaries on every fucking block.
Pope Leo is apologizing for the Holy See's role in legitimizing slavery. In a message released this morning, the Pope called the Vatican's role in the slave trade in the 15th century a, quote, wound in Christian memory. It's the first time that a Pope has issued an apology for the role that past pontiffs played in giving explicit authority for people to enslave others.
What if I told you that the Vatican helped Europe colonize the world, that it justified European colonialism in the name of spreading Christianity, that there are papal decrees that allowed European empires to take over entire countries? And for what? To allow colonizers to subjugate people, to take away their lands, wage war on their cultures, impose a self-conceived notion of racial superiority over them. And all of this just because the colonizers claimed that they were the ones who discovered new lands. So they had a right to rule over those new lands. Now, the Vatican has come forward and apologized for what it did. It has apologized for helping the colonizers. Here's a report.
Have you heard something called the doctrine of discovery? It's Europe's version of finders, keepers. It's what European colonizers used to subjugate the world. During the so-called conquest of America. Just so you know, European colonism was a vast and often very violent project. The whole world at some point or the other has been under the control of a European power. Look at the French Empire. It ruled over territory greater than the size of the Europe itself. Then there was the British Empire, the most notorious of them all. And its peak was about 25% of the world population was a subject of the British Empire. Apologies are welcome and long overdue, but preparations will be the closest they'll come to making amends.
Yeah, well, he can go kick rocks with that apology. And, you can tell the Catholic Church is racist because it should never have taken you this long to come out with an apology. The fact that it did, that speaks volumes about how racist y'all still are. It really does. And y'all, the bottom line is they're fully aware that we're at the end of their kingdom. They know. They know. These things are not cropping up for no reason. They know we're at the end. And they figure if they say a little something and act like they're so sorry about what happened and, they get away and there is no judgment waiting for them. Well, that's where you're wrong. That judgment is still there. It is still there, especially if you did not do anything other than verbalize some words, then that judgment is still there. How do you think standing somewhere and speaking an apology make up for all the hurt and pain and unaliving and grape and everything that we have been through cannot be wiped away from some verbalized words? It does not work this way. And I'm deeply offended that you think that is good enough. It's not. It's not. The Crawford Experience, thank you so much for the super chat. No apologies, Pope. No check, no vote. I don't think we have to vote for him, but I get what you're saying. Thank you so much for your support for my channel. Dr. Sharon, thank you for the 23-month membership. These people also need to be honest about who we are and whose land they have been living on all these centuries for free. They need to prepare. Yes, they do. And all of you land stillers and the offspring, we gonna need back payment for that rent. We gonna need back payment. You didn't get to stay here for free. We gonna need back payment. All right. Dr. Sharon again. Let me see. I can't even see the whole thing. Hold on 1 second. Let me just put it up here. I agree, Lisa. He knows. He knows. We know he knows. Yeah. I mean, the Pope knows who we are. He does. He prays to what? A Black Madonna. So he knows the truth. They know the truth. All over Europe, they do pray to a Black Madonna. And it's over here where they want you to pray to that pasty, stringy haired, toga wearing hippie that they call Jesus. That's what they want us to do. But over in Europe, all over Europe, even where Putin is, they pray to a Black Madonna. So they know. They're fully aware. Mhm. Yeah, yeah, we're gonna have to charge y'all for rent. So we got to go back all these centuries, all the way up until that's going to be trillions of dollars in rent. That's going to be included with that reparations. You're gonna have to pay back rent. So, y'all, I'm gonna go ahead and conclude. And as you can see, people are not accepting this apology, and the ones that are a bunch of Hamites. They are, and of course, in the people in the Catholic Church, they accept, but see, you can't accept unless you were part of the slave trade. If you were not part of that, then you can't accept any apology whatsoever. So, y'all, I'm going to go ahead and conclude. My next live is a white doctor that's suing findablackdoctor.com because he said it's discriminatory for, the website to be Black doctors and nobody else like him can sign up. First of all, you need to understand the history and the reason why we need a Black doctor. Findablackdoctor.com. All right. See, all you see is dollar signs. It's so typical. You don't want to deal with the reason why it exists in the first place. So we will get into that at 2:45, y'all. So I will see you then. Thank you so much for being here. And also remember, this is Memorial Day and the sale on all of my sites is still going on. Etsy, 40% off. Shopify, 40% off. And TikTok Shop, 40% off. So take advantage and grab it up while you can. The sale will be over on the 26th at 11:59 p.m. Shalom, family.